Back here in New York, the governor, the health department, and medical professionals held a briefing just a few hours ago to let New Yorkers know that they are prepared to deal with Ebola should someone be diagnosed here at home.
Jennifer Lukey has been on the phone with our local hospitals and healthcare centers all day long. She's live tonight at the Albany County Health Department. And Jen, I know there are procedures in place. Have the healthcare workers been practicing those running drills?
Well, Liz, they tell us they are, but we've been trying to speak with all of the hospitals here in the Capital Region for the past week or so about those increased protocols, procedures, training drills, and Albany Med, Ellis, St. Peter's Health, Saratoga, all of those hospitals have denied our request for an interview. What we did learn today was that 8 hospitals across the state have been designated by the governor as a first response area for anyone who would be diagnosed with Ebola. That's the hospital, whichever is closest to that patient would go. And there are none of them here in the Capital Region. There's one in Syracuse, one in Rochester, and the rest are downstate. Still, hospital workers, healthcare workers here in the Capital Region have to be ready. Now, the state is saying that it is working with all hospitals across the state to identify and train staff who would step in these cases and care for Ebola patients. They would identify areas within their hospitals where the quarantine patients would go. And they're providing additional personal protective equipment for all those folks and training them on how to use it, because there's been a lot of questions about how that protective gear has been used in Dallas. Now, I spoke today with the Albany County Health Commissioner, who tells me on the local level they have been preparing for months now, ready to respond to any local case, and that seems to be what the state is saying as well.
Since August, we've been looking at a number of our public health emergency preparedness response plans, in particular our isolation and quarantine plan, which would be used if we ever had a case of Ebola in our community and needed to quarantine large numbers of individuals.
We've been operating under the assumption that at some point we would have to deal with an Ebola case. Why? Because our operating model is better safe than sorry, err on the side of caution. That's been our operating model for 4 years. Assume the flood hits, assume the storm hits, prepare for it. If we're pleasantly surprised, we're pleasantly surprised.
Now, in addition to making sure healthcare workers are prepared, the governor also outlined a number of initiatives that the MTA and the Port Authority will be taking downstate. And in addition to that, at the airports and the ports, but in addition to that, the MTA is also sending folks upstate to all of the airports and rail stations upstate to make sure that they have proper screenings in place as well. So again, what we're getting here, Liz and Cody, is a feel that everyone has an all-hands-on-deck approach, that they are ready, that they expect it, although it may never happen. They are prepared for it, and they're ready to go in case of a local case. Back to you guys in the studio.